Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. This is Harry from Spurs TV. I'm back with another video. It's about my match reaction to Spurs 4. It was fun. Spurs 4, Newcastle 1. So Spurs managed to bounce back after no wins in 5 games and took Newcastle to the cleaners, if we're being honest, let's say, yeah. Richarlison got a double, and we'll talk a bit about him in a minute. Son got the penalty at the end. And Joelinton, of course, he scored against Spurs at the end, right? And there was a bit of, not that much controversy, but there is something to talk about as well in regards to defenders. And yeah, let's get into it. Well, Spurs started with the same way they kind of started the last few games. Got a sort of early lead. And then obviously they added to it in the second one, make it 2-0 before half-time, which kind of relieved a lot of people like me because obviously the 1-0 scoreline is a risk in itself, and also it's not a very comfortable scoreline 1-0, yeah. So Spurs went to break it 2-0 up. It didn't like Newcastle really in it. In their defence, though, they have been playing the same 11 for the past few weeks, and they are quite barren in terms of injuries. They're missing the likes of, obviously, Tonali, who's got his suspension because of other reasons, but Harvey Barnes and Dan Burn and Sven Botman, who is, let's be honest, is one of the best defenders. And they look knackered, if I'm being honest. And I think Spurs just took advantage of it. It was a well-needed win. Richarlison's the one I want to speak about first. Someone who I've defended on here for a very long time. But it felt like today that we finally saw the best of him. And I still think there's more to come. It was the first game I actually saw players sort of playing to his strengths in terms of, if you notice a lot of his chances he had, which I know he scored 2, of course, but they were very instinctive. The first goal was obviously created by Son, who surprisingly played very well on the left in the first half. The second half was left a lot to be desired, if I'm being honest. I think he was very good in the first half on the left, Son, but he kind of stopped making crosses in the second half. Maybe it's tiredness, but yeah, I was quite worried seeing him on the left, but he kind of did well in the first half. So he obviously set up Richarlison for the tap-in. Obviously, Dogi as well got the first goal. It was actually a great move. And Spurs deserved it. They were the better team. It seemed like Newcastle came to kind of sit and try and not play for a point, but just be patient and hopefully get something on the break. And like I say, you can't really blame them. They have got so many injuries. And the team looked very knackered, if I'm being honest, with Newcastle. So Spurs kind of played Newcastle at the best time, you could argue. Obviously, going to Richarlison, like I said, it was probably the best performance I've seen of him. His hold-up play was really good. His runs were really good. He was very aggressive, which is what we kind of want from him. Of course, his 2 goals as well, very well taken, especially the second goal where the control was, I think, was brilliant. And yeah, Son got the penalty at the end, which was definitely a penalty. They took, Dubravka took him out. Yeah, obviously there's a bit at the end with Vicario having words with Callum Wilson, but it's kind of ironic considering Callum Wilson's comments about Richarlison beforehand. So yeah, I do think he took off Richarlison later on in the game because if you think about it, he just came back from injury. He's sort of easing him back in, and I do think Richarlison will play again against Forest. I mean, we saw what he did last year against Forest with his little keepy-uppies, but he'll definitely be on it for that one. And it was nice to see Porro, I think, again, played very well down the right. Dogi on the other side very well, but he's a young player. He made, again, just a few mistakes, but thankfully it didn't cost us. Vicario, again, was quite solid. I thought Romero did okay, but apparently someone's telling me that he should have been sent off. There was a really bad tackle, and the one I can think of only myself is when he just went flying into, I can't remember who it was, and it was given like offside or something. But it wouldn't surprise me if he should have been sent off. It wouldn't surprise me if he had made like a crazy tackle because he's got that in him. Thought Davies was okay. I want to talk about midfield briefly. Sarr for me was probably our man of the match along with Richarlison. I think we've really missed his legs and his running, and it really showed a huge difference. It kind of also gave Basuma a better platform to sort of sit, and I thought Basuma for once was just doing simple things which you kind of just have to do as a number 6. And yes, he did drive a few times, but he kind of just did what he should have done really the past few games. And he kind of, maybe Basuma and Sarr have some sort of chemistry that we don't know of yet, but we'll see. But I do want to talk about Kulusevski. And people are going to say to me, Harry, you've been calling for Kulusevski to play in the middle. Well, yes, I have. And he did start the game quite well as a number 10 today. I thought he started all right. But just his decision making, it's like he takes like 5 minutes to decide where to pass it. We had a few instances where he could play left or right. He didn't. He could have shot a few times. He didn't. And I would argue Lo Celso, who came on and did a lot better than him, and he'll probably play Lo Celso against Forest instead of Kulusevski, because Johnson, I thought today even looked better on the right. I think it suited him a lot more. And that front three, to me, looked the most... I don't think they will have Son in their name. Richarlison, Johnson, and Son. Ironically, I think they played the least together from what I can remember, but they seem to have the best chemistry, those three. And I wouldn't have really pigeonholed Son on the left, but Richarlison seems to do really well in the middle, and you can't really move him from there. And I don't think on the left he'll be as effective, even against Forest. So I'd keep the same front three. So yeah, it was a good win. Back on track, I guess, if you want to say it, with 5th. Still a long way to go. Forest away next, then come on you Spurs.